Two people each invested $100 in real estate. One of them could sell the same day. The other one was locked in for a year. They both thought they'd bought the exact same thing. They hadn't. Today we are breaking down the real difference between a REIT share and a real estate token, and why mixing them up can cost you a lot more than you'd expect. Let's start with REITs. REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. A company buys a lot of properties, shopping malls, warehouses, apartment complexes, sometimes hundreds of them. Then it issues shares of that company. When you buy a share, you become a part owner of the whole company, not of one specific building. REITs trade on regular stock exchanges, just like any other public company. You buy them through a brokerage account. By law, the company has to pay out almost all of its taxable profit to shareholders as dividends. It's a classic, heavily regulated, well-understood investment. It's been around for over 60 years. Here's where almost everyone gets confused. Owning a REIT share feels like owning real estate. It isn't. You own a piece of a company that owns real estate. That distinction matters more than it sounds. Now let's look at real estate tokens. The setup here is different. You take one specific property, say, a residential building in Detroit or an office tower in Dubai. The rights to that property get placed into a special legal structure. A share of that structure then gets represented as digital tokens on a blockchain. Here's the precise way to think about it. When you buy the token, you own an interest in the legal entity tied to that one specific property, not the building itself, and not shares in some giant company that owns hundreds of buildings. You hold it in a digital wallet, not a brokerage account. And you can often buy in for as little as $50 or $100, a tiny slice of one specific building. Here, you're not picking a fund. You're picking a property. Want exposure to a house in Detroit? You can buy that. Want an office in Dubai instead? You can buy that. That's a completely different level of control over exactly what your money is tied to. But that control comes at a price, and that's the next difference, and it can actually cost you money. REIT, basket, token, one house. Keep that in your head. It explains almost everything else in this video. A REIT share is a security issued by a company. You own a piece of a business that manages dozens or hundreds of buildings. You don't get to choose which specific building you're invested in. The fund's management decides that for you. A real estate token, when it's properly structured, represents an interest in one specific property, usually through a legal entity called an SPV, a special purpose vehicle set up for that single asset. Let's put it side by side. REIT token. What you own, company shares, interest in one property's legal entity. Scope, basket of properties, one property. Where you hold it, brokerage account, digital wallet. Where it trades, stock exchange, platform. Risk profile, diversified, concentrated. Diversified risk versus concentrated risk. That's the trade-off in one line. Buying a REIT takes about 2 minutes. Open your brokerage app, search the ticker, click buy. Done. Buying a real estate token usually means a few more steps. Create a crypto wallet, verify your identity, wait for approval, then fund the account before you can even place your first order. Neither one is necessarily hard, but they're not the same kind of hard. And on top of that, these platforms aren't legally available in every country, so that's something to check before you get your hopes up about a specific deal. This next difference can actually cost you money, and it's the one most beginners get burned by. Liquidity. Can you sell quickly? Picture this. It's an emergency. You need $2,000 today. You own a REIT share. Click. Sold. Cash in your account, same day. You own a real estate token instead. Maybe you can sell it. Maybe not today. Maybe not this month. Some deals come with a lockup period of 12 months, especially on US offerings, and the secondary market for tokens is still small. Same $100 investment. Two completely different outcomes when you actually need the money out. Returns and payouts. Here's a simple question. If a building earns $100,000 in rent this year, where does that money actually go? With a REIT, the law requires the company to distribute almost all of its taxable income to shareholders as dividends. That part is guaranteed by regulation. With a tokenized property, the rental income can also flow to token holders, but there's no single industry-wide rule for how or when. It depends entirely on that specific platform and that specific deal. So before you buy a token, actually read the fine print. How often payouts happen, where exactly the income comes from, and what cut the platform takes for itself. Regulation and risk. REITs are a long-established, tightly regulated investment vehicle. The rules are clear, and investor protections have been refined over decades. Real estate tokenization is younger, and the regulatory picture is more layered than people assume. In Europe, MiCA covers many crypto assets. but it isn't a complete framework for tokenized real estate securities. Those often still fall under separate rules like MiFID II and national securities law. In the US, offerings frequently rely on frameworks like Reg D. And Dubai recently launched a government-backed registry for tokenized property. There's still no single global standard, and the rules vary a lot from country to country, and from deal to deal. That means tokens can offer more upside potential, but also more legal complexity, and that's something worth checking individually for every platform and every country. Wrap up and call to action. So let's go back to those two people from the start. One held a REIT, liquid, regulated, easy in, easy out. The other held a token, narrower risk, a lower entry point, more upside potential, but locked in for a year. Neither choice was wrong. They just weren't playing the same game, even though they both thought they were. In the next video, we'll walk through exactly how to buy your very first real estate token, step by step, from signing up to making your first purchase. Subscribe so you don't miss it.